we start learning more about Sayaka's love life. This girl has a crush on a dude, but she doesn't want to act upon it because she feels bad. He had an accident and he can no longer play the instruments that he so desires. That beautiful violin is now gone. And no matter how much Sayaka tries to cheer up Kyosuke won't be able to play the instruments anymore. And slowly starts thinking about, maybe if I were to ask Kyubei to heal Kyosuke, maybe Kyosuke will start to like me back. What do you think about that plan, Sander? Because I think that's an awful plan. But then again, this is coming from the perspective of someone who has passed their teenage years.
I would say that is not a A-plus plan. Definitely not a great plan, to be for sure. Because first of all, even if you do make this wish, you have to explain to him that you wish for him to be better, and he's better because of magic. Which, I don't know, even when I was a teenager, I don't think I would have bought.
Yeah, it would have been a very hard pill to swallow. But eventually, there's a pinch, and Sayaka's like, okay, make me a magical girl, Kyubei. And Kyubei's like, understood. Thank you for your soul. And she becomes a magical girl. And she has this cape, and she has this proud persona, and all her magical girl powers are music-based because she has such a huge crush on Kyosuke. And then Kyosuke starts getting better, and he's fine. But there is another friend in this group that also has a crush on Kyosuke. And Hitomi, being a good friend, goes up to Sayaka and is like, yo, Sayaka, I have a crush on Kyosuke. I just wanted to ask you, what do you think about my crush on him? She doesn't want to step on anybody's toes. She wants to give the push to Sayaka to finally confess. She was being a good wing sister. But Sayaka's like, what are you talking about? I don't like him. Yeah, you can go for it. Yeah, you have my blessing. And Hitomi's like, all right, I'm going to ask him out. And Sayaka's like, yeah, that's fine. And Hitomi's like, okay. She asks him out, and Sayaka starts getting her heart broken by her own self.
I have a question for you about this whole little scenario, this love triangle, as it were.
Yes.
Do you think that Hitomi always had a crush on Kyosuke, or do you think that her crush, it was ramification from the wish that Sayaka made? Because all wishes have a counter effect in this series.
I 100% believe that Hitomi asked Kyosuke out just to try to get Sayaka to ask Kyosuke out.
Oh.
I do believe that the crush she developed on him is, first of all, she asked Kyosuke out, and then they start going out, start hanging out. Of course they're going to have feelings for each other. They're young teenagers. So yeah, the feelings are going to be reciprocated. And there's also the wish effect. You wish for something, and it turns bad.
Yes, I agree. I think it all played together pretty nicely for Sayaka's eventual demise.
So let's continue talking about Sayaka, because what happens next is important for Kyoko's final character development.
Yes.
So after Sayaka makes the wish and sees that they're hanging out, she gets disappointed, hurt, angry at the fact that Kyosuke is not hanging out with her anymore. And she decides, okay, fine, maybe if I can hang out with him, I'll be a good person. I'll be a hero. I'll just go and kill more witches. So she focuses on killing witches. And she goes dark. What do you think about Dark Sayaka?
Dark Sayaka. So part of Sayaka's turning dark is once she finds out that she no longer has a soul with her at all times, Sayaka, no heartbeat. She's dead to the human eye because her soul is no longer in her body. It's in that gem.
That breaks her. And this is when we realize that these girls, their wish is their ultimate lifeline to being a magical girl. And with time, their wish will come back to haunt them. And Sayaka, she just wished for her crush to be better. But when she realizes that she is not a human, she is essentially this little gem. She despairs because she can't be with Kyosuke because she's not human. She starts delving into despair. And we see that her gemstone starts to darken and become muddy, and even have a few cracks in it.
And at this point in the story, Homura is the one that explains the whole soul gem thing to everyone. And at this point, I'm thinking, wow, she knows an awful lot about all of this.
So let's jump forward to the day that Sayaka admits she's not a good person. This whole time, she's been telling herself, I'm a good person, I'm a hero, I do good for other people, I have worth. It eventually slips. She can no longer hold this facade. She comes to a realization that she made a selfish wish and she wants selfishly to be with Kyosuke, and that will never happen. Her gemstone breaks. And what happens next I did not see coming. It really did blow my mind. All the signs were there. When I realized that all the witches they had been fighting were ex-magical girls who had lost all hope, that was a reveal. That blew my mind.
Yes, that is like the big twist. Episode 4 gets you hooked, and I think it's like 8 or 9 where we find this out. That is one of the big plot twists. Well, especially in a magical girl shoujo like this, it's not a normal thing you would see in this show. This show is genre breaking. Is that a good way to describe it?
I mean, it's definitely I think a masterpiece in its genre.
Yeah, I don't think I don't watch a ton of these, but I mean, I just haven't heard of a whole lot of other shows doing this. They don't take this dark route very often.
At least not back in the day. Like, now it's more common, but I think they're just following suit of Madoka.
Yeah, well, this was the OG. This was the first to do so.
Sayaka, what did you think about her wish?
She's trying to be a good person. She is saying that she's a good person, but she also has selfish motivations behind it, and I think that is we can all relate to. I'm not going to say it never, but most of the time, a lot of the time, even if we're doing something good, we all have ulterior motives underneath whatever we're doing.
When I first watched it, I was in my late teens. I guess it's easy to say, like, well, yeah, you're obviously not a good person. You made a very selfish wish, and then you're trying to pass it off as a good person. Like, that's hypocritical. But that's the whole point of her character, is to show that we try to be things that we're not because we think that is what is ideal for us to be. And there's no shame in being human. We're all selfish.
Yeah, none of us know what's going on.
Yeah, like, we can all try and say, like, yeah, I have everything figured out. Everybody's just making it up as they go. What's interesting with Sayaka is that she liked this guy. She wanted to do something good. And heck, she'll help people out of it. So it's a win-win for everybody. But when she realizes that the people that were warning her, like, hey, make sure you do things for yourself. Make sure that you care about your happiness. It's interesting that she finally realizes that they were correct. And I think this is an important show for people in their teenage years to understand that you need to do things that make you happy. You do not need to live a life that pleases other people. Because at the end of the day, when you go home, when you sleep at night, when you're by yourself, you only have yourself to rely on. I'm not saying that you can't have a support system. Yes, a support system is important, but you need to be at peace with yourself foremost before you can be a help to other people.
Yes, I think that's a very good way of looking at Sayaka.
So let's talk about somebody that has been preaching this all along.
Kyoko.
So what we learn about our great Kyoko is that she has been preaching this. Take care of yourself. You are important. You need your happiness foremost before you can help other people. She's been becoming really good friends with Sayaka. I wouldn't say like really good friends, but they have been very friendly. As much as friends as you can become with Kyoko at the very least.
Yeah, they definitely have a competitive dynamic, I would say. They jab back and forth at each other a lot, but I think they realize they're on the same side most of the time.
When Kyoko realizes what happens to her friend and she sees that her friend becomes the magical music witch, she is heartbroken. But she is still a magical girl, and this is her friend, and she has to do a very hard decision.
Well, first off, she knows she has to kill Sayaka's witch. Well, she actually originally comes up with a plan. She's going to take Madoka because she thinks Madoka will be able to turn her back to human. As the viewer foresaw, Madoka's voice did not turn her back into a human, and it just put Madoka in harm's way. I enjoy this fight because the entire time classical music is playing in the background, which doesn't fit the setting or the emotions at all. But classical music, because Sayaka and her connection to Kyosuke. At the end of the fight, Kyoko decides to sacrifice herself to take down Sayaka, which I feel shows a lot of growth for Kyoko, because she starts out very lone wolfish, not caring about anyone else, and in the end, she sacrifices herself to take down Sayaka and save her friend Sayaka. But I also think Kyoko is selfish in doing this because she knows Valpurgis, the most powerful witch, is coming to their city, and Homura will not be able to defeat her alone.
And I do have to agree with you that even though this seemed a unselfish death, I think that Kyoko knew what was going to be the end of the road for her. She eventually would become a witch too. What better way than to go out with a friend, rescue them from their despair, and tell her, hey Sayaka, you're not by yourself. Don't despair. I'm here with you. We're in this together. But low key, Like, I'm out of here before this huge Walsh Knight comes and destroys the city. It was a very nice sentiment. It still has a bit of selfishness, but I don't believe that being selfish is necessarily a bad thing. You know, in today's society, being selfish is immediately thought of as bad. No, you need to be selfish.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I think in this selfishness, it still shows a lot of character growth for Kyoko. By saving someone that she started out at odds with, did not like her at all. And at the end of the day, she does save her from her despair.
Let's talk.
Surprise, surprise, I made it despite the lies. Yes, I've been told I can't make it. Now I am golden in your favorite. So, surprise, surprise, I made it despite the lies. No, I won't go, I'm too afraid to. So I am here to just save you, yeah.